Look at the Middle East today. The borders drawn across these mountain plateaus form a massive pressure cooker of modern geopolitical tension. This framing misses the actual story. The geography shaping today's headlines has dictated global power for thousands of years. To accurately map out where this region is heading, we have to look past the current news cycle and examine the blueprint of the world's oldest continuous center of gravity. We trace that blueprint back to 550 BC. Under Cyrus the Great, rapid military campaigns united vast swaths of the ancient world into the Achaemenid Empire. The scale of land brought under one central command had no historical equivalent. By locking down the Iranian plateau, Cyrus established a geographic stronghold that would control trade routes and project regional authority for millennia. Conquering land is entirely different from keeping it. The true test came a few decades later with Darius I, who shifted from military expansion to systemic imperial consolidation. The massive stone columns at Persepolis functioned as heavy-duty bureaucratic hubs, engineered to process raw data and taxes from across the known world. This stone relief shows how the system operated. A subject approaches the king in formal tribute, recording the tax brackets coordinating far-flung territories. Every guard is carved in uniform ranks, broadcasting that rebellion against this calibrated machine is mathematically impossible. By turning raw power into paperwork and stone, Darius engineered a blueprint for statecraft so resilient that subsequent empires would repeatedly copy the code long after his own dynasty fell. Holding the geographic center of the ancient world comes with a permanent tax. When your territory connects east and west, you become an inevitable target for every rising power with an army. For centuries, the response to this threat was brute force. Massive Persian armies marched across continents to buffer their borders, clashing in grueling conflicts against the Greeks at places like Thermopylae. By the Sassanid era, this kinetic defense strategy hit its peak. We see it literally carved into cliffsides. King Shapur I, mounted on horseback, looking down at a kneeling Roman emperor, Valerian. The Sassanids had tactically dismantled a massive Roman force and captured their head of state alive. Physical dominance kept their borders secure for centuries. But an empire relying solely on standing armies eventually hits a wave it cannot break. That wave came with the Arab conquests, followed centuries later by the Mongol invasions. The formal Persian state collapsed. Cities were leveled, the royal houses burned, and the armies scattered. This presents a historical problem. When a civilization's military is destroyed and its political borders are erased, how does the culture actually survive? The defense strategy shifted away from the battlefield. Instead of generals, the state's survival fell to figures like the poet Ferdowsi. Looking at his statue today, he is framed with the heroic reverence usually reserved for military conquerors. This illuminated manuscript shows what he built, the Shahnameh. Ferdowsi compiled Persian myths into a medium that couldn't be occupied. Zooming in, the defense becomes clear. He used deep Persian vocabulary, creating a rhythmic structure that acted like a cryptographic lock, preventing full Arabization. By shifting their center of gravity from vulnerable physical borders to an indestructible linguistic identity, Persia outlasted its conquerors. They achieved a type of long-term permanence that standing armies simply cannot provide. That defensive posture dictates how modern Iran operates today. Look past the high-rises of modern Tehran, and you see the same ring of mountains that shielded their ancestors. The brutal geography that made the ancient plateau so defensible is the same terrain utilized by modern military planners to safeguard infrastructure and deter foreign power. The state's influence still flows down the ancient channels. If you track their modern diplomatic and economic ties, the maps align with the ancient Achaemenid trade networks. The modern geopolitical strategy of the region is the latest iteration of software running on a 2,000-year-old mainframe, which brings us to their current economic benchmarks. Pushing toward their 2026 targets, the state is etching out a new path for regional survival, prioritizing advanced technology and domestic production over resource extraction. These expansions into domestic biomedical engineering and scientific research serve as strategic imperatives designed to bypass external economic pressures. They are attempting a complex balancing act, pursuing technological independence while anchoring themselves to an ancient cultural identity. A civilization's endurance relies on its capacity to adapt, shifting its survival mechanics from standing armies to linguistic encoding to high-precision technology to remain the unshakable center of its world.